Welcome to Delaware Tech Chemistry 100 or Chemistry 110, Policies and Expectations. I'm your instructor, Dr. Marc G. Taylor. So whenever students start this course, either Chem 100 or Chem 110, they usually have a number of questions on their mind. Why am I in a chemistry class, besides the fact that they have to be? What are my career goals? What does chemistry have to do with what I want to be? What should I know about chemistry and science before I begin? And do I really need math to do well? Well, the first four questions can be answered by discussing chemistry in the context of all sciences. Chemistry, like all sciences, is accumulative, and that means the things you learn early in the field will always be necessary to understand things further in the field. And that goes not just for within chemistry, but between chemistry and other sciences. In other words, math is kind of the most fundamental of sciences, if you will, and physics is in part based on math, in a great part based on math. Chemistry is in great part based on physics. Biochemistry is based on chemistry, biology is based on biochemistry, etc., etc., and until we get to the field that might be your special field of interest. Maybe it's nursing, maybe it's medical technology, maybe it's engineering, but these all have foundations in these basic sciences, chemistry being one of them. And that's what chemistry has to do with that. What should you know about chemistry and science before you begin, besides it being cumulative? It's going to have more importance in your career than you may think, and it's going to have more importance in your life than you may think. You'll find that there are certain concepts you'll learn here that you can apply to a lot of other areas of your life. And students are always worried about math. Do you need to know math to do well? Well, yes, you do. You do need to know some basic math, and for these two courses, basic algebra is absolutely essential, so make sure you brush up on it. We have plenty of tutors available at the Virtual Tutoring Center, so take advantage of that. Can you fix it? Absolutely. You can either go to the tutors or you can come to me. I can help you with all of the math in these courses as well as other math if necessary. There are many resources available to you, so please do not panic. And you'll also find that a lot of these specialized math topics that relate to chemistry are available on a wide number of videos that are online, especially on YouTube. So what will you learn in this course? Well, I'm going to show you a list of topics, and the ones in red only apply to Chem 110. The ones in black apply to both Chem 100 and Chem 110. So we're going to start off with what's admittedly the most boring part of chemistry, and that is scientific measurement. So we'll talk about what precision and accuracy means, and they mean very different things than what you learn in everyday English. We'll talk about scientific notation and significant figures, and these concepts will come up over and over and over again throughout the semester, so it's very important that you understand them right away. We'll talk about the metric system and a related system called the SI system, and we'll talk about how to convert units. This is sometimes known as dimensional analysis, and one of the things we'll look at is density. In Chapter 2, we'll start to actually talk about the components of chemistry, atoms, molecules, compounds, etc., as well as types of energy involved in these chemical reactions. Then we'll talk more detailed about the chemicals that are on the periodic table, specifically the atoms or elements that are represented on the periodic table. Then we'll move on to how these atoms are attached to one another in bonds to form various compounds. Once we've learned about how to construct compounds, how to write the formulas for compounds, how to name compounds, we'll be ready to actually talk about the chemical reactions that compounds and elements are involved in. And there are 6 major types. We'll talk about these types and how to think about them chemically as well as how to think about them mathematically. Then we'll move on to gases, and there are various laws that can predict the behavior of properties of gases like volume and pressure and temperature. And then we'll move on to solutions. And solutions are essentially homogeneous, that means well-mixed mixtures of 2 or more substances. And we'll talk about the rules that accompany solutions, as well as some related mixtures called colloids and suspensions that are like solutions but not quite. And then for Chem 100, we'll end with acids and base. I'm sorry. Before that, we'll end with acids and bases, and then we'll finally end with an introduction to organic chemistry and some biochemistry. And then if you're in Chem 110, we'll also include a unit on nuclear chemistry. This will be on the properties of radioactivity and the particles that radioactivity is actually made of, the things that make something radioactive. So a little bit about me. I have a bachelor's in science and biology from MIT with a strong concentration in organic chemistry. I did my Ph.D. at Michigan in biological chemistry, looking at enzymes and the mechanisms. And then I did my postdoctoral fellowship at Berkeley, studying the way antibodies bind antigens. And that led me to a career in industry, in biotech industry, specifically in medical and molecular diagnostics, where I used my knowledge of antibodies to develop new tests for various components in the blood, specifically proteins, and then later DNA in the body. And this was in order to detect certain diseases. Now I'm also doing scientific consulting as well as teaching and tutoring, obviously, in this course. So for the course, let's talk about the times and locations. The lectures and labs. Normally you would be in a physical lecture, you'd be in a physical lab, but since this is online, the lectures will all be online asynchronous videos. Asynchronous means out of time, meaning you can watch these videos at any time. You don't have to watch them at any specialized scheduled time on my schedule. You can watch them on your schedule. And these are in broken down by the units that I just described, and within each unit there are many modules separated by specific chemistry topics. There's a textbook for the course, Chemistry by Karen Timberlake, and I'll give you more details on another slide. The labs will be virtual labs, so these are PowerPoint presentations that have links to them. Most of these links are to videos. At the very last lab, there's a second link to a website where you get to play with molecular models that are represented in computer graphics format. But in general, you're going to be downloading these PowerPoint presentations and writing your answers on those, and I'll describe that later. DelTech has an online bookstore as well as their physical bookstores. Here's the link, so make sure you get your text. My office hours are Monday, Wednesday, 9 to 11 a.m., and this will be the case for both Chem 100 and Chem 110 this semester. If you need alternate times, we can discuss those. And here is the Zoom link. So I will open it up a couple minutes before, and you can link on. In addition, we have what's called the Virtual Tutoring Center. So this is an online facility. You log on with this Zoom link shown here, and they are open from Monday to Friday, but you'll have to check for hours. Mostly it's 10 to 6 for Monday through Thursday. I believe it closes a little earlier, possibly at 2 on Fridays. So check their hours for chemistry as well as math tutoring if that's what you need. I may be a tutor, so I may have hours as well, but there are many, many tutors available for help, not just me. I'm also available for additional assistance. You can always contact me by email, and we'll set up an appointment to meet by Zoom conferencing. Will use my office hours Zoom address shown as the first Zoom address under assistance. My email is shown here, mg.taylor@dtcc.edu, and this is the primary communication you should use to reach me. However, I'm also providing my personal email, and the reason why I do this is because sometimes if you email me and I'm not at my computer, I can use my cell phone to respond to you. I can read DTCC emails. I just can't send back from that server using my phone. So you may see an email coming from that Gmail account as well. I'll usually copy my DTCC email. So if you reply, respond to both emails, please. And then I'm including my cell phone number in case there are emergencies. Note that this is a Los Angeles number. I used to live there. Caller ID may say Beverly Hills. I never lived in Beverly Hills, but if you see that, please pick it up. It's me. If you see me texting, please respond. Thank you for that. So The textbook, as I mentioned, is Karen Timberlake's textbook, Chemistry: An Introduction to General, Organic, and Biological Chemistry. We'll focus on the general, but the last unit, Unit 9, will be organic, with a smattering of various topics of biological chemistry. You will also need to do safety training for the lab, and this is absolutely mandatory whether we're physically in the labs or not. It's knowledge you absolutely have to have before you ever step into a physical lab. And this consists of two parts: a 35-minute video produced a long time ago. It's almost 30 years now, 29 years ago, by the American Chemical Society. It's 35 minutes. It's a little outdated, but it has plenty of good information. In addition, I have made a module. You'll find this in the Unit 1 modules, but I'll put it also in the safety and lab video module in D2L called Measurement in the Lab. And here you will learn how to do measurements properly when you're using a ruler or a graduated cylinder or a beaker or a thermometer. And there are ways to measure things, so make sure you watch that video as well, especially before you take the laboratory safety quiz. When you're doing a lab, normally in the physical lab, you would sign a safety training statement. I posted this training statement online in D2L. Please download it, check the boxes that you read, sign it, scan it, and resubmit the scanned portion. This is the only time where I absolutely require you to scan a document. The others, you can just use PowerPoint presentations and just save them and resubmit the PowerPoint. But this one, I need you to scan the document after you've signed it so that I have a copy of your safety training statement. So other things you need for the lab: you absolutely need a scientific calculator, a TI-30X or equivalent. However, there are equivalent calculators that have all these functions available at the Dollar Tree. They're not always there, they're not at every Dollar Tree, but there are scientific calculators there for $1. I recommend if you pick up one, pick up a couple, because they don't last forever. And how do you know it's scientific? Well, it will have something called a scientific notation function. And this looks like a button that says EE on most calculators. On the Dollar Tree calculator, it says EXP. And you're going to use those buttons to use scientific notation. When we learn about scientific notation later, you'll see that it looks like a number that has a times symbol and a 10 raised to a power symbol on it. Please do not ever use the times button or the 10 to the X button when you're doing scientific notation. Use the EE button or the EXP button to input your scientific notation. Times is for normal multiplication. 10 to the X is when you're raising 10 to the power of something. And while both of those things are technically true of scientific notation, you will not always get the right answer. I tell students this every single semester, and at least half ignore my advice. So it's very important you review your own calculator's instructions for using each function. So don't throw out the instructions, please. Make sure you know how to use scientific notation. And in one of the modules in Unit 1, I explain how most calculators use scientific notation. So it's in there as well. You will also need a metric ruler. It doesn't have to be very long. A little over a foot will probably do it. Make sure it's marked with centimeters, but marked into tenths of a centimeter. And that's the same thing as a millimeter. So these are very narrow markings. You can tell how big a millimeter is if you tried to hold your index finger and your thumb apart from each other, but as close together without touching. That little tiny space is about a millimeter, and you should see marks that wide on your metric ruler. You also need a piece of string. 1 or 2 feet is plenty, and you'll use these for the first 2 labs in the course. It's also recommended you have a molecular model kit. It's not absolutely necessary by any means. You can certainly get through the whole semester without a kit. It's just helpful to some students, but it's really not essential. If we were on campus, You would absolutely need personal protective equipment to enter the lab. You would absolutely need a lab coat and goggles before doing any on-campus lab. However, since we're doing these as virtual labs, you don't need to buy this equipment. Normally on the Terry campus, goggles are actually provided for you, but you do need to purchase your own lab coat, and you certainly can purchase your own goggles if you prefer. As far as when we are in the lab, and you do need to absolutely know these 4 items that I'm about to list. You have to have long pants or a long skirt. Shorts are not allowed. You must have a lab coat, and hoodies are not allowed. You must have goggles, and your shoes must have closed toes. In other words, no part of the skin of your foot should be exposed to the air in case something is dropped in the lab, and this is for obvious safety considerations. So these 4 things, make sure you commit these 4 to memory. These are the 4 clothing items you can't do an experiment without. Not having this equipment would actually result in you being removed from the lab and getting a 0 grade for that day. So if we are back in the labs physically, make sure you are aware of this list. The safety training statement absolutely has to be signed before we start doing any physical lab classes, but please sign that in the first couple days that we start taking this class. As soon as you see this, just download it, sign it, check it, and sign it, and scan it, and submit it into D2L under assignments, and just get it done. All right, so what's available on D2L? First of all, those of you not familiar with D2L, D2L is our online system. It's essentially our repository of all the information, or nearly all the information, you need in order to succeed in the course. And here are a list of the various things you can find when you go into the CHM100 or CHM110 webpage on D2L. D2L stands for Design to Learn. And so this is our system for giving you information, videos, documents, laboratories, links to various websites, etc., etc. It's all found on D2L in one place or another. So when you first enter, you'll see a menu at the top, and the first menu item says Content. And under Content, there are going to be 2 major headings that you're going to look for: Getting Started and Learning Materials. And under Getting Started, you'll find a copy of this policy presentation. You'll find it as this video, you'll find it as this PowerPoint, and you'll find it as this in a PDF format. So one of those formats will be available for you if you want to just read it without hearing me talk, and then we have the video to go over. But I recommend you continue with this video so you hear all my extra comments in case you miss something. There's also going to be a course syllabus. This is just a list of all the topics that are covered in the course. It's not necessarily in the order we're going to cover it. There are Zoom links that I already listed, the office hours and tutoring, as well as information about Smart Thinking. This is an online tutoring service, not to be confused with our virtual tutoring center, which I already mentioned. So that's a whole nother tutoring service that DelTech provides to you. We also have links to the student virtual support services, and there are a wide range of services available through this organization, this DelTech organization, that can help you. They involve financial support, as well as any disability support or mental health support. So make sure you check out what's available there. There's also a bio on me, but you've already seen the basis of the bio in a previous slide. Also on the content page is a learning learning materials folder. And in this, there are a lot of things you're going to use in this course. The most important will be the lectures. And all the lectures will be in PowerPoint format, PPT, or in PDF for those of you who do not have standard IBM compatible devices. Some tablets don't work with normal PowerPoints. Some Apple devices don't work, so I provided PDF files of each. They have everything that the PowerPoint does except for the animation. In addition, every module within each of these PowerPoint units is broken up into individual audio video module formats, so you can watch a video of me giving a lecture of the various units. You won't see me in this, you'll just see the slides, and I'll be talking to you. These are all available with closed caption if you have trouble hearing the words or understanding what I'm saying, though admittedly some closed captions are going to be a little off since there are a lot of scientific words that the captioning may not have captured. If I find any errors, I will occasionally update these slides periodically, so look for new version numbers. I try to make all of them the same version number each semester, so just look for variations to tell you that I may have modified it slightly. Reference handouts. I give you a set of reference handouts. It's about 23 to 26 pages, depending on whether you're in Chem 100 or Chem 110. Print these out immediately. They are in either color format, which I recommend, but if you don't have a color printer, I have black and white format, which has all the same information, it's just not as pretty. Make sure you print those out, keep them together. I recommend you keep them in the same order. Get a clip and hold them together, because many of these you'll be allowed to use on exams. So make sure you have those, and they will be an important resource throughout the semester, which will help you in terms of letting you avoid massive amounts of memorization. So make sure you have these handouts ready to go. And I'll refer to quite a few of these during the course of the semester. Practice exams with answers are provided for all 4 exams. I may or may not include one for final. I certainly have one for final for one of the classes. I may have one for finals for everything, but there are practice exams that are extremely useful references to prepare for the actual exams. Don't take an exam without having gone through a practice exam, please. I already talked about the content heading on D2L page when you enter your course page. There's also a menu item called activities, and there are 2 main things under activities you need to be aware of. Quizzes, which is D2L's generic word for exams, quizzes, and finals. So all of those will be found under quizzes. These are electronic versions of these, and these are only open for specific days throughout the semester, typically 4 to 8 days for each exam or quiz. I give you longer times for the exams than for the quizzes. In most cases, there's one quiz I give you an exceptionally long period of time. It's there to practice so that you're prepared for the exams. So make sure you go through and do these quizzes. Most of these quizzes are mandatory. One of them is optional. That's it. But otherwise, all of your quizzes, all of your testing is under quizzes on activities. You will also find a second heading. There are actually a number of headings under activities, but these are the 2 important ones. A second heading called assignments. This is where you will submit your lab reports. You won't find them there. You will submit them there. You'll actually find them in the learning materials section of the content page. And then grades. Grades is another heading. You can go to grades and you'll see several headings for each of your individual grades, but most importantly, you'll see an overall grade, you'll see a lecture portion of your grade, and you'll see a lab portion of your grade, and I'll talk about what those are in a minute. But all 3 of those must be passing for you to pass the course. If you are failing any one of the 3 of those, you fail the course. So it's important that you pass the lab section and the lecture section, as well as your overall calculated grade. And usually I'll have your grading done within a week, typically within only a couple days, with a few exceptions. So make sure you're checking. If you don't see the grade is submitted after a certain period of time, check with me. There might have been a glitch. I might have not seen it. There are certain situations where D2L doesn't always let me know that you've resubmitted something after I've submitted a grade for you. So evaluations. This is the first semester with new evaluation standards. It used to be 75%, now it is 70%. So students must demonstrate proficiency on all measurable performance objectives. That means laboratory and lecture grade. Lecture is a combination of quizzes and exams. And you have to have at least 70% in each of those, as I already mentioned, to pass the course. The new grading system is based on groups of 10 points. 90 and above is an A, 80 and above is a B, 70 and above is a C, so it's no longer 75, and a 0 to 69 is an F. And again, this applies to both the lecture and the lab components. It's important you pass both. I say this over and over again, and yet people forget this point. If you are failing even a little bit in your lab and you are doing exceptionally well in your exams, you will still fail. And if you are doing poorly in your lecture, say you have a 74 in your lecture, but you have a 90 in your labs, you will still fail. You need to have a passing grade in both. And it's broken down, 75% of your grade is the lecture component. Of that 75, 70% is exams, and 5% are quizzes. And the exams include the final, and I'll talk about that later. Laboratory component, this is the average of all your labs, is 25% of your total grade. So let's talk about the lecture component. Of that 75%, I said 70% are the exams, and there are 4 mandatory unit exams. You'll have 6 to 8 days to finish each exam. You can use a scientific calculator on each. You absolutely need one. And whatever handouts I specifically allow on the test. No other resources unless they're included on the test or unless I specifically tell you. Absolutely no use of any other websites during any testing situation, any exam, quiz, or final. I say this every semester, and every semester several people decide that they want to use the websites to look things up while they're taking an exam. Even one question will result in an academic report, a misconduct report. Please do not do that. I have a number of questions scattered throughout the semester that let me know when you are doing that. So please, I beg you, do not use websites aside from D2L's quizzes to answer any of the questions during an exam, quiz, or final. No other handouts, textbooks, notes, websites, help, etc. can be used during the test unless I say otherwise, and I may allow certain things. You are not permitted to discuss any aspects of any exam with anyone until everyone has completed that exam, and that might take a long time because somebody may have had a deferred period of time. So if you want to discuss with somebody, let me know in advance and I'll let you know whether it's appropriate. Any violation of these rules will result in an academic misconduct report that will be filed to the Dean of Instruction's office. Please do not violate these rules. The final exam is comprehensive and mandatory. People have had questions about this in the past. Different campuses and different instructors do different things. In my class, it is mandatory unless you have a solid A. What does solid A mean? Check with me after your last exam and last lab, and I'll tell you whether your grades are good enough to be exempt from the final. Otherwise, you must take the final. That's the bad news. The good news is if you take the final, it will replace your lowest exam grade, and that is the official rule. It will replace the lowest exam grade. But, however, that rule says that if you get a poorer grade on your final than you did on any of your exams, that grade can actually replace it. And that's the official rule, and that's the rule I'm telling you. But in practice, I don't let that happen typically, so it will not hurt you to take the final exam. However, if you are required to take the final, in other words, you didn't get a solid A, and you didn't check with me first, and you don't take the final, a 0 will replace your lowest exam score. In other words, even if you got a 50 on one of your exams, it will now become a 0. And you definitely do not want that. It's much better to take a final exam, do terribly on it, and it will not hurt you. So please take the final exam. Quizzes. Quizzes are only worth 5% of the total grade. You'll have several days to finish each quiz. And the rules are the same as exams and finals, especially no other websites. I repeat, no other websites. There'll be 2 to 5 quizzes during the semester. Many of them are timed, some are not. The policy and ethics quiz, which is quiz 1, is absolutely mandatory. Please take that quiz. So the laboratory component, this is 25% of your grade. We have a number of labs in the course. I believe it's 11 in this semester, and all labs and lab reports are absolutely mandatory to complete in this class. You have to complete every single lab in order to pass the course. How do you do the labs? Well, you're going to download PowerPoint virtual labs. These are found in D2L under the Learning Materials module. You'll enable editing in the PowerPoint file. So there'll be a little line at the top that says Enable Editing. You hit that button, and now you can change the lab. You can type on the lab. Read the instructions carefully. There are lots of instructions throughout the lab, especially in the first couple pages, and they are very important for you to fill out the answers correctly. The number one reason students lose points on their labs is not reading the instructions or not following the instructions properly. Within the labs, there are a number of video links. Most of these are most of these are YouTube links. You literally hit the control button and click on the link, and that will bring you to a YouTube video. Watch the video and read the instructions, and then you can answer the questions in the PowerPoint. You'll actually type right on the PowerPoint, save the file. You don't need to change the name. Save it and then submit it into assignments on D2L. You'll see that heading in D2L under activities. Put it there. Do not send them to me by email unless we have some real problems with submission. If for some reason you are not able to type on the PowerPoint file, let me know. I'll give you PDF copies, and then you can physically write on them, scan them, and turn them in. But please try to type them in the PowerPoint format first. Use the video links to complete the labs. Some labs have multiple videos to watch. They're all pretty short, so make sure you watch them and read anything carefully that's written on the labs, as well as the instructions before answering the questions. You can use any resource you want to complete your labs. You can use textbooks, notes. Yes, you can use the internet. You can even use me or the tutors to help you. However, if you use the internet, I will see that you're using the internet because there are certain questions that will tell me, and it will tell me that you have not learned the material yourself. So I won't grade you wrong for that material unless you give me the incorrect answer based on what I'm asking for. But please, I urge you to try these on your own before you jump to looking at the internet for the answers. Labs. Normally when you're physically in the lab, you'll have a lab partner, maybe a couple lab partners, and you'll be working with them. However, the rule continues to be, whether you're physically in the lab or you are doing the labs virtually online, all your work must be done independently. That means you can discuss ideas for solving the problem with other students. That's fine, but the work must be your own. You can never give or receive answers from another student, direct answers. In other words, you can say, hey, I approached this problem this way. I think we're supposed to multiply this times this. I think we have to subtract this, and we need to keep this many significant digits in our answer. That's fine to explain. But if you tell the person the answer, and I see that you're giving identical incorrect answers, that clues me that you're probably sharing too much. And that is an academic misconduct violation. So please never, ever, ever give direct, specific answers to problems. And any discussion problem must be your own. Again, you can talk about ideas, but it must be your own words, your own final ideas. Again, if violated, academic misconduct report will be filed with the Dean of Instruction's office. Labs. Lab due dates are variable throughout the semester. I do that to give you certain amounts of time for different labs, and I do that to schedule the labs so that your labs are coordinated with the lecture material you just watched. So watch carefully on your schedule for the dates the labs are due. The lab due dates will not shut off you turning in a late lab. You can still turn it in late, but I might penalize you 5% per day up to 1 week late, and I can give you a 0 for late lab, but if it's very late, talk to me. I might still, under certain circumstances, might still let you turn it in. But please get your labs in on time. Follow the schedule carefully. And very, very, very important, if you miss turning in 3 labs, and that includes 3 very late labs with 3 zeros, the second you get 3 zeros, the semester's over. You automatically fail the course, and this is not my policy. This is actually DelTech's Science Department policy, campus-wide. All 4 campuses use this rule. In fact, it's 2 missed labs during the summer for most campuses. Some are 3, but they drop 1 lab. But most campuses during the fall and spring semester, if you miss 3 labs, mathematically you can't pass. That's why the rule is in place. You get 3 zeros, you can't get a passing grade in your lab, and therefore you automatically fail the course. So please do not miss the labs. Withdrawing from the class. Okay, there are 2 ways to withdraw from the class. The official way of withdrawing from the class, which is coded with a W on your for the records. I don't believe it will show up on your transcript. A W means you officially drop before the drop date, and this semester the drop date is November 14th. It's a Saturday. I will probably email you beforehand to let you know you might want to consider dropping if you're in a position where it's going to be very difficult for you to pass by the end of the semester. The other way to withdraw is highly unrecommended. This is the unofficial withdrawal, and it gets a U. You do not want a U. If you stop viewing the lecture material or you stop completing any course assignments, including taking tests or turning in labs, without officially withdrawing from the course, in other words, your grade becomes a failure because you have stopped participating, you will receive a U from the course. Students typically call this ghosting a course. A U is to be avoided at all costs. You do not want a U. It means you failed because of absence or inactivity, and a U can detrimentally affect both your GPA and your financial status. In fact, students with a U will be responsible to pay back all financial aid and fees for their courses. So please avoid the dreaded U. Attendance policies. Okay, I have office hours Monday and Wednesday, 9 to 11 a.m. for any questions you may have. Technical questions, scientific questions, questions on how to submit material, etc., etc. Anything you have a question about that relates to this course and your success, this is your time to ask questions, because we have no official lectures. These are completely optional, except during the first week of class. During the first week, I want you to attend either the Monday or Wednesday 9 to 11 a.m. session. This is to get acquainted. You'll hear some basic rules for the class. It'll remind you of certain things. It'll answer any of your initial questions for the course. It lets me see you, lets you see me. It's a good way to get the semester started, so I please just attend one of these 2 for the semester. Both classes will be attending these 2, so you'll see students from the other course. Chem 100 is very similar to Chem 110, though Chem 110 includes a number of other topics not included in Chem 100. So feel free to ask questions that relate to either course for you. This is your time. Now, if you can't make either of these times during the first week, let me know. We'll set something up and we'll have an alternate time for people to get together, maybe an evening time on the Tuesday. That might be a good time, and I'll let you know if that's the case. Okay, I will try to open up Zoom hours, usually 1 to 3 minutes before the scheduled 9 a.m. time. Occasionally there are some technical problems and I can't open it for whatever reason, so bear with me. If you don't see it open right away, just wait. I'm doing my best to get it open. This happens on a rare occasion, but it does happen. You are responsible for viewing all online videos. These are your lectures. This is the time you would normally be in class. So make sure you watch all of them. I have posted on the schedule recommended dates when you should watch them. I recommend you watch them in the first half of those recommended dates so you get it done early. It's your responsibility to find out what you missed. It's your responsibility to make all work up by the due dates. So if something if there's a problem, contact me. talk with me. I'm a reasonable person. We can talk about alternate dates just in case. My office hours and classroom time, well, we're not having official classroom time, but you can think of office hours as alternate classroom time. Be mindful of any loud noises in the background. I know some of you live with relatives, some of you have children, you have lives. Things are going to make noise in the background. In my case, I have a firehouse across the street from me, and occasionally the siren goes off, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. But if that is an issue, just mute your system for just a few minutes, and then come back to it. Make sure your video is on so we can see each other as well. You can take breaks upon request, but you don't really need to request breaks. We're on Zoom. You're adults. You'll be treated as adults. Just walk away, excuse yourself. You don't even have to say anything if there's a group going on. Just walk away, take care of whatever personal business you need to, and come back to the Zoom meeting. Missed exams. Since all the exams are open for multiple days, typically 6 to 8 days, there'll be no offer of retakes usually. In other words, no second version of the exam. Unless you have a compelling excuse, some kind of prolonged family emergency, a prolonged illness or an injury, something truly of the emergency sort, let me know the situation immediately. We'll talk about what can be done. Occasionally, I will have students that have crazy work schedules, and I will sometimes work out an additional day before or after the normal test period for you to take it under those circumstances as well. The open days for any exam, quiz, or final are on the schedule, and these are locked. If you miss those times, you miss those exams or quizzes unless you talk with me. Missed exams can only be made up if you provide a reasonable excuse for why you're missing it. Expect to provide documentation. I may not always request it, but expect to be providing that documentation for your absence to prove to me that you have a legitimate reason and not just that you forgot. Okay, so occasionally you can take the exam before the regular exam period, but on a rare occasion I will extend it for a day for some students under certain circumstances. Always talk to me. So like I said, you can take it in advance if necessary. If you miss the exam and you never get it in time and you get a 0 for that exam, remember the final can always replace your missing exam grade. Exams that have not been completed in the period of time and you haven't talked to me, you get a 0, but again, that's replaced with the final exam grade. And to maintain academic integrity, I may modify these exams. I may remove or change the extra credit questions on those exams. So don't always expect the same benefits of taking the exam on time. If you are a veteran, the Veterans Affairs, the U.S. Veteran Affairs Office requires us to keep record of military veterans. So if you are either active duty or a veteran, please just send me a short email. And when I say short email, literally all you have to do is send the email, say Air Force, active duty, or Air Force retired, or Army active duty, okay? Whatever it is, that's all. Just give me the branch and give me whether you're active duty or veteran. That's all the email has to say, and we'll be fine. It's just for their records. Accommodations. A number of students over the years have had a need for accommodations. Accommodations could be for any reason. You might have extreme anxiety when you take an exam, or a hearing disability, or visual impairment, or dyslexia, or any number of other issues that come up. I personally have a hearing problem, and while I don't usually wear my hearing aids because they don't help me a lot, you'll hear me talking loud for no reason at all occasionally, and you'll hear me saying, "Excuse me, can you please repeat that?" because my hearing is not perfect, and that's a result of having played drums and percussion since I was 10 years old. So don't be embarrassed about it. You don't need to tell me at all. You just need to contact Student Affairs. Dr. Matthew Zink is your contact person for the Terry campus, and he will let you know what can, if anything, be done. Sometimes this can include alternate periods of time for taking exams, or different time lengths for taking exams or quizzes, or certain other things. I've already put accommodation of closed captioning in all the videos, so that is already available for anybody with a hearing disability like me, who has problems understanding everything I hear on YouTube. Academic honesty. I've mentioned this several times already, and I do because every semester people make mistakes, and they do something that is considered dishonest by the academic honesty policy. It is posted as part of the student handbook. The link is here, and you can look this up for yourself. DTC has a very specific policy about this. It will not be tolerated, and if anything happens, I am bound to report it. So if you're unsure about how a policy affects a certain situation, contact me. Let me know, and I'll find out. If I don't know, I'll find somebody who does know to tell you. But remember, if you are found guilty of a violation of academic honesty policy after a report is filed, first of all, the report is filed to the Assistant Dean of Instruction at Terry campus, and this can often take months to resolve. And the reason is the Assistant Dean has a lot of other things to do, and they don't have time to review your situation that day or that week, and most of the time, not even that month. It frequently takes 2 to 3 months to resolve. And in the meantime, once that report is submitted, you are not allowed to drop the course. You literally have to wait out the situation for the dean to make a decision. And that decision, if you are found in violation of academic honesty, can result in one of 3 possible results: an F on the assignment, an F for the semester, or dismissal from DelTech college altogether. So please, please, please do not violate any of the policies I've talked about, especially use of websites outside of D2L during any testing situation. This is the most common one I see. The second most common one I see is people copying off of each other, either on tests or on labs. Please do not do that. You're on your honor here, but we have ways of checking. Participation, participation, participation. If you were in class, this is what I would request from you all the time. But we're not in class. We're only contacting one another in a direct way during office hours. But participation tells me what you know. It tells me what you don't know. It tells me what's on your mind. It tells me what I'm doing wrong. It tells me what I'm doing right. So I sincerely request participation from all of you. Feel free to pop by the office hours every once in a while and check in. I keep them open during that time period, even if nobody has logged on. You're not the only one who won't understand something in this course. If it requires more time during a normal lecture, I would have you come after class. In this case, we have office hours, so if you don't get it during the video lectures, contact me and we'll talk about it during office hours, and if you can't make office hours, we'll set up another appointment. I'm going to be available to you. Questions and answers are always encouraged. This is your time to find out things and to find out if you understand things. And you can also clarify things. And it's okay to be wrong. It's absolutely okay to be wrong. Everyone is wrong at some point. I promise you, if you are confused about a certain topic in any subject, be it chemistry, any other science, or even non-science subjects, I promise you, you are not the only one in the room who is confused by that topic. So please, ask questions if you don't know. Don't wait until the test is already done to say, I didn't really understand this. That is not the time to ask. Ask before you're being assessed on any material. I'd rather you try and get things wrong than not try at all. So make sure you try things. If you have trouble, that's when you come to me for questions. You can come to the tutors at the Virtual Tutoring Center. You can go to the Smart Thinking tutoring tutoring modules that are available there as well. If you are coming during office hours and you ask problems, I may have you work through some of these problems. But here's my promise to you. I will never abandon you when I'm asking you to solve a problem. I'll always walk you through any problem you're struggling with, and it will be good practice. At the very least, you'll learn a little bit more than you did before you started. So finally, yes, it does seem overwhelming, and it's not the best environment to have everybody do this all online, because most of the work is on you to do it. Once I put the videos online, it's up to you to watch them and do your best to understand them. But you have resources to find out if you're not understanding it. Everything's posted on D2L. Start with the welcome letter that's posted when you open up D2L. There's a welcome letter right there, and it's broken up into a brief introduction and then 2 big sections. What to do first, and it's about 8 or 10 things you should do immediately, and then where to find everything in much more detail than is on the slides in this presentation. So you'll find out where everything is. I recommend you print a copy of this out and have it as a reference for you. It'll have all the links in it that you'll need. It'll be your reference guide for the course. I also recommend you print out the full schedule for the course, though the schedule might change throughout the semester. I'll make an announcement if it does change, but keep your eye on the schedule always. I have tried to make it so that no 2 items are due on the exact same day. So the schedule is posted, and if you look on the schedule, every day in the semester is listed, and it tells you which things are due each day. But each of these has a period of time when you can work on it. Please don't wait till the last day to turn in every assignment. I'm going to push you to learn. I'm going to push you to help you learn as well. So it's going to be necessary because there's a lot of material in a relatively short period of time. The internet can be your friend if used properly. So if you're not getting it from me, YouTube is a world of information to help you on a wide range of topics that are chemistry related or math related. The only thing is, don't use it on any tests. That means quizzes, exams, or the final. Even one question. I have caught people on a single question on multiple occasions, and that's enough for everything to change for them. Please do not use the internet during tests, but use it on your personal studies. You can even use it on the lab, just not on any testing situation. If there's anything that pertains to your success in this class, please do not hesitate to talk to me. Come to the office hours, send me an email. I'll try to respond as quickly as possible, usually within half a day, sometimes quicker. On a rare occasion, I might be away and not be able to respond right away, but please contact me if you have questions. I will go out of my way to help you if you make the effort to help yourself. So asking for help is always a good strategy for success. Don't wait until you're already failing the course, till you're at a point where it's mathematically impossible for you to recover. Don't wait that long. Get the help you need right away. And if you don't want to come to me, we have lots of tutors available. There are many, many resources available in this course for the material. So get involved, participate, participate, participate. It is your future you're working towards. Remember, so you need to do the work. Some of you are fresh out of high school, so this is your first college course, and college is not like high school. The responsibility is now on you. You are considered an adult, even if you're not. So the work is on you to get the work done, to find out what you need to do. But I will be there to help you. You just need to ask for my help. And with that, I'm your guide. Good luck to all of you. Thank you very much.